Today was like eye-opening for me, like as far as the Amish, how they live, their history, like, like, I mean, you see one thing, but then to actually come take a tour and really see how they live. I mean, you talk about living simple, but honestly, like, it's living better than a lot of people in the city. And it was just a lot to take in. So I just want to get, like, with us taking that bus tour and really seeing, I'm like, okay, yeah, we see the horses, we see the chickens, we see the goats, we see them in the buggies, but to really see how they live and how much they bless you is just, it's amazing. It's amazing. And living with no electricity, living a simple life. But the simple life is living in abundance. That's what I got from it. It's like how they are living in abundance.
They do. I mean, the houses are beautiful. The houses look just like modern day houses in our suburban areas. And look at that. Is it a turkey or what?
A chicken or something.
Yeah.
A red
rooster, probably.
Rooster.
Red rooster. Yeah. And you know, they say that the houses look like mansions, and that's because they're like two or more houses built together. So like when the parents get older and the children marry, the children take the main house and the parents move into the other house. And it's not a smaller house. It looks like it's the same. We saw one that had like 3 or 4 houses on the property.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they own like 60 to 80 acres of land.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. They don't have insurance.
They pay. Look, they pay cash if they got to go to the hospital or they
and the hospital
and
prefers to treat them because they don't have to go through the insurance. They said they get more money because they pay cash.
Get it more rapidly,
and they'll get it faster.
Mm-hmm.
They come together as a community. If one is hurting, like they very much follow the Bible. If one is hurting, we're all hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they said, they had a barn fire, and the barn burnt down. And the churches are in
they built in 3 days.
No, 1 day.
One day, that barn burnt down.
That burned down. It took
together.
them. They all came together
and built it in 1 day.
And rebuilt a barn in 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There's a red
Rooster.
Red rooster
He's
here.
pretty.
He thinks you're going to feed him. He thinks he wants to be
He's not thinking about you, and you thinking so much about him. He's not thinking about you.
You don't have anything to feed him, so he's not
going to go away.
He's going to go away, yeah. Because we're here on the an Amish, like an Amish resort type thing where they have
the animals, they walk freely.
the animals walk freely around. They
Yes.
go on the bus tours. But I mean, I was just so impressed with the housing. You know, you think you're going to find like a 2x4 shack. These houses,
it was totally opposite.
These houses look like billionaire county houses. And I mean, the houses are absolutely gorgeous.
And much land.
And so much land and the landscaping. And they tell you that the landscaping is done by the women, and the men do all of the farming. And they have their businesses where they come together and help each other out. So they help each other to be millionaires.
Yeah.
And I believe that they are millionaires.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from all
that
they've shown. But, you know, one of the things that you said that I like, and I know our culture seemed like they got away with it, like the parents are taken care of. Like the parents, they work hard, do what they need to do. They build these beautiful homes. But then when they get older, they move out and pass that house down to their children.
Right. That's it.
And their children now work hard like the parents do.
Right.
And then it just keeps going on. Like the house tour that we took, the lady said that it was built in the 1800s and the families lived there for 100 years. And then, you know, they eventually moved on, but that was the, tour house that we took. So I just think that's something that we really got away from as far as passing down properties, and things to our family members, but yet still taking care of our elders.
If you go back into the Moses and the book, they tell you how the families all live in that one area, and they're not on top of each other. They're stretched out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they stretched out.
They're stretched out. I mean, here's a farm here. There's another farm all over there. They're not sitting on top of each other, like in the city. You have your row houses and apartment buildings. And, no, these houses are stretched out. You got beautiful rolling hills in between. You know, the Amish, the Mennonites are more modern.
Yeah,
they have the cars and electricity in their, you know, houses. But still, they come together. You know, they said, and this is really got me, because so many people, you go to church on Sunday, and you're looking at your watch. How long is he going to preach? How long is he going to be? We should have been out of here 10 minutes ago. These people go to church for 3 hours on Sunday, from 9 to 12 o'clock. They are in church. That's their church service.
Straight messaging services, prayer
and worship is from 9 to 12 o'clock. Then they go out, and a lot of their churches are held in their homes.
Barns. They look like they're barns.
Or their barns. They're housing like 150 to 250 people. So now you can imagine how big these houses are, or in their barns. And after church, they have what we call a fellowship hour. And then after fellowship hour, they'll either go and visit other families and friends. The youth go, and they have their own thing that they do. So they said a lot of times now it's 1 o'clock. They said a lot of times you'll see a lot of youth on the roads traveling, because they have their little activities and gatherings that they do. So Sunday is purely a Sabbath day, because there's nothing there's nothing sold. It's like they used to have the blue laws in Pennsylvania, where there's no stores open, nothing is sold. It's purely a Sabbath day. And it's really an interesting tour. Very interesting. And they said another thing I found too. They said they don't in the Amish home, you won't see pictures of themselves on the wall or sitting around, because they believe in the 10 Commandments, where God says, you know, you will not be before me. And they think if you put a picture of themselves, that you're worshiping yourself more than you're worshiping God, you know. So
one thing I like about it too is that as far as church, like each family hosts a church, like Sunday. So they said because the community is so big, even though you're hosting 150, 200 people, you're really maybe doing it one time a year.
Because they only have church every other Sunday.
And that goes around to different homes where
they take
you
turns.
come
so
together.
You know, it's and they said, like, you know, they cook in there. What do you call that?
The big pot. Everything is freshly made.
Everything is freshly made.
Concrete mixer.
The concrete mixer is what they use to make their mashed potatoes in, you know, which they said is absolutely delicious. And I know, because I've eaten at an Amish, restaurant. I don't know if there's any today over in Village for us to eat it, but this was an interesting tour, a real eye-opener.
It was an eye-opener.
You know, as to how people should be living. Because they live by the Bible. And if the Bible doesn't say it, they don't do it.
They broke it down.
They really did it. The different things that, you know, the Bible says. And I thought, so these are things that we do, you know. And they're not doing it. We have pictures all over the house of ourselves, you know. We do everything but can't wait to get out of church on Sunday. You know. Because I heard a lot of people say that because now we're having virtual church and that only lasts an hour, they like it better. But they spend a lot of time giving praise and glory and thanksgiving to God for everything that they have.
And it's, like I said, it's the simple life they call it, which it just amazed me how...
Well, their simple life, honey, is a rich life to me.
Exactly.
It's a rich life to me.
And
I mean, anytime you've got all these big 3-4 bedroom houses sitting on the property. That's mom's house. This is daughter's house. You know?
And some of them are joined together.
Some of them are joined together. They showed us what they're building. And what they're building is just as big as the house they moved out of.
I was there.
Beautiful grounds.
You know, as everybody else stated, it's very eye-opening. I think one of the very first things that I understood is out of the communities they established at 16 years old, where you have an opportunity to go out and experience the outside world, and at that point you can make the commitment of making the commitment to become faithful in the Amish culture, or you can move on. And what the young tour guide said, that 2% out of 100% of the people leave, 98% stay.
And I see why.
So that speaks volumes to me.
Yes.
And honestly, as I relate it to our culture today, we see a lot of upheaval, a lot of protesting and things of that nature. And the reality is, these people go to school and have an 8th grade education.
Mm-hmm.
And they own 60 to 80 acres of property. They, as you guys reiterated and stated before, they pay their insurance in cash because they don't have insurance.
They don't care about Social Security.
And they don't.
No, they refuse
Social Security.
Right.
So all of these things,
mm-hmm.
and God still shows them favor, and they're flourishing.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that people need to understand is, we live in a capitalist society. These people, they have businesses.
Mm-hmm.
They're not working for anyone else. And if they do, they're working within their communities. So they own their businesses. And again, on an 8th grade education, they're flourishing.
Look, they don't send their kids to college.
Exactly. They don't send their kids to school.
They don't have high school or college.
Right.
Exactly.
They go to school.
And they're teaching them the culture and the craft from a young age, and they're not being adulterated with our society outside.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big thing that I got. And they live by the Bible.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So,
and I found that it's interesting. I don't know if you heard her when she said the children at the age of 4 start learning how to sew, because they make their own clothes. So, Tamara, you're 5 years old. So at 4 years old, they teaching the girls how to sew and make their own clothing. So it's like they're teaching their children to be entrepreneurs at such an early age.
that's right.
And one thing I don't know if you noticed, there's no competition. You saw, the Amish family here, they make, they do things for the horses, or this family here does tobacco, and this family here does, bakery. So it's not like it's a lot of competition. It's not like, everybody doing the same thing or anything. It's like you go to that specific family for this, you go to this specific family for that. So
and their money stays in their
prosperous.
Community.
Yeah.
Right. Full circle. That money continues to rotate in their community.
Yeah. So it's
not about keeping up with the Joneses.
Oh no, and they don't want you to.
No.
Yeah. I mean, they even talked about the scripture where it talks about not being, glamorous, and I think she said Matthew. I'm not sure which one, but as far as
they're talking about settling disputes.
They did bring it also.
They don't go to court.
Different. Yeah, they don't go to court.
They don't go to court. That's what the one that lines up with Matthew 19.
Oh yeah, they don't go take each other to court.
Right, they settle disputes within themselves.
They go to the ministry.
They police themselves.
And they police themselves.
And then if anybody, they don't believe in drinking alcohol, drugs, none of that. But if somebody do, then they counsel them. So
the family
everything
comes
is
together around them with the minister, and they counsel them to get them back on track.
Yeah. But one of the things they're talking about, the reason why they don't, dress like flamboyant, or the way that we're used to, a whole bunch of colors. Like they have vibrant colors that they wear, but it's the same type of uniform. And it's because this is what it was, because God sees the beauty within. It's not about everything on the outside. Exactly. And I was like, yes, that's so true. So it's really, it's like, wow. It was truly an eye-opening. Like, we came here to see, exactly how they live because of
And
things
this
that
is
we
2020,
read.
and they're still getting it done.
Yeah.
And the other thing is,
Yeah.
I used to think that the Amish only lived in Pennsylvania, but they're throughout the United States.
Oh, yeah.
They said they have a very large community in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
throughout the United States.
Yeah. So, and to think, where they came from and their history and, which will be shared later in the video, but it just amazes me how they persevered and, like you said, God favored them. God favored them, like, big time.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times, it just made me think of the things that we have, and we think, we have a lot, and it ain't nothing compared to what they have,
Oh my God.
and we think we got it good, and here it is, like, no, you can have it better if you just really, truly be obedient to His word.
Find yourself with God's word.
Exactly, right. So as far as, they're living abundantly, like I said, they're living an abundant life, and I'm looking forward to tasting your food, which is all natural. Yeah.
Because they're not open
On Sundays.
on Sunday.
Yeah. But I'm glad we had this experience. I'm glad we came out here, did it. It was worth every minute, and as far as the trip itself, it was just worth it. Because it was definitely an eye-opener. It's like, I know we got a lot to think about, like, going forward.
And the thing, like I said, is what you said before is they don't live in a compound all together. They all have
Spread
their
out.
own spread out in their own homes, their own residences, and so they build community. They're building the community.
Yeah. And the
So-
community
Like their own
is,
town.
Exactly.
no, it's like our own countryside. It's huge. Like, it is huge. I thought when I read about, they had 12 acres. No, it's way more than that. Way more.
Like
This
this,
is
look at
This
house.
land here is 12 acres, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then you down the road, that's down there. That's another Amish town.
Yeah. But you're right. I just really thought, like, okay, coming here, it's like, you'll see something like maybe that be their house, that bridge right there,
See, most of the tours up here are done during the week.
Right.
And you come up here and you go to the little shopping centers.
Right.
And then you go to eat. And then you go on back to the city.
Mm-hmm.
They don't take you around to see all this stuff that we saw today.
Right.
Or on the tour that we took today. They don't, they don't do that.
Yeah.
And then they explain, why they live the way they live. It's all according to the Bible.
Yeah.
Render unto Caesar what is Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
They pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They believe in abiding by the laws of the land.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But on the other hand, they said they stopped because they used to be taxed.
Mm-hmm.
Social Security tax.
Right.
But when they refused to
Receive it. They didn't want it.
now they have just stopped taxing them Social Security tax.
Right.
Because they refused
And we fighting about Social Security.
And they ain't thinking about it and living well.
They don't need it. They
They
don't need it.
Exactly.
I
And
told them
living
I didn't
well.
have my Social Security check. I'd be out in the street.
Mm-hmm. And here it is. They go to show you how
That's why
life
I'm
is without it.
entrepreneur and trying to get another stream of income. So
Yeah.
they're threatening to cut it back, or take it away completely.
Mm-hmm. But here it is. We see life where they ain't even caring about no Social Security.
No,
I mean, able to go to the hospital. They ain't fighting over insurance bill or what they got to pay, the deductible and everything. They're paying straight cash for everything.
You talk about the guy that had that fire in the barn.
Yeah, we
They-
did talk about
They
that.
cleaned it up and built a new one in
One day.
All the men
together.
from that church district
Yes.
came together.
Yeah.
All of them.
The fire
they
burned
built-
it down, and the
They
next day they
cleaned
had
it
it
up
up.
and built it back up in
One day. Yeah. That says a lot.
Yeah.
That goes to what you were saying, how when you be riding to work and you like, it shouldn't take months for this to be built, and this is a prime example. You're right. It shouldn't take months for something to be built when you got a community that come together and do something in one day. So you're right, Yeah. So it was eye-opening. It was big time eye-opening.
Trying to get richer.
Exactly.
Well, you talking about the society we live in.
Yeah.
Not the one they live in.
Right. Right.
There's no status competition.
And one thing I like too is when we rode by the cemetery, they said they don't go and visit the dead. You remember that?
They don't put flowers on the cemetery.
Down. It's like, look, we gotta keep living, like,
right.
There's not no expensive headstone. You ain't think about all that. It's like,
it's a headstone, but you don't see a whole lot of flowers and stuff.
Or the big kind of headstone that's all decorated and gotta have the all expensive.
You don't see all that.
The mausoleum, the one you walk in.
Yeah, you ain't even seen all that. Right.
No. Those things are really expensive.
Right. Yeah, they not spending their money on that kind of stuff.
No.
But they do go through, society when it comes to having a body embalmed and all that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to after they were buried, they was like, no, they don't visit the dead at the grave, put flowers. No, they don't do none of that. Yeah. So I said, it was awesome. I'm just glad we took this trip.
But I remember one time I had said, I haven't been out to Mom's grave in a while. Well, I'm not going to say her name. One of the ministers at the church, she told me, why are you going there? She's not there. And I said, you know what, you're right. Why am I going to that grave site? She's not there. You want to talk to your mom? Just sit down in the chair and talk to her.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. So, any last minute things y'all want to say? Last word, or would you recommend this trip to others? Of course, I think we all agree.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
If you want to get away from being pressured by the outside world and get an understanding of how you should be living, come to the Amish community.
Take the tour. Take this tour. What was it called? The Amish Village?
Yeah, this is the Amish Village tour.
Yeah, but they need to be able not just hear this settlement here, but to be able to get out in the community and see how these people are actually living. You know what I mean?
Take the bus tour. We're saying
bus tour.
Don't just come, and see the area that we're in. Take the actual tour so you can see the community, and you will be amazed like we were. An eye-opening experience. So thank you for watching. As we always say, like, subscribe, share this video with others, because that's what we're all about. Sharing the culture, giving you our feedback on it, and letting you know what's out here, the truth about what's out here, and not what you're just being told or hearsay. Alrighty, have a great day. So the other thing is, I had to get in here that you just brought up, is the times that we're going through right now in America. You brought up a good point. They don't have no prejudice. They're not prejudiced. You either Amish or you the English. It don't matter what your...
Doesn't matter what color your skin is, what nationality you are, what country you're from. If you're not born into the Amish family, then you're English.
Right.
And that's how they refer to you. So everybody's the same. You're English. And you're either Amish or you're English.
And one thing that I like too is that they said the Amish are very nice people. Like, approach them. They're approachable. They'll be willing to talk with you.
Forgiving.
Then they're very forgiving. Yes, they're forgiving people. So it was like, that was another eye opener too, as far as the way we're living life.
Forgive those who trespass against.
Right. So it was, that was another important point that we definitely had to share with them. Yeah.
They ride the horse and buggy.
See the buggy, mommy?
See it over here. See right here. Right here, see? Right here.
Don't see.
See they ride the horse and buggy.
Your destination is on the right.
Amish Village. Okay, today we are actually taking a tour of Amish Village, Amish Town in Lancaster, PA. Oh, she wants to get in the video. But we're having a family day out in Amish Village. It is beautiful. It is peaceful out here.
And
Zoe,
what? Me and Maurice and Grandmama's here.
Exactly. So, enjoy this video. Hopefully you get to experience life as we see it, as we're here in an area that we never been. And in fact, if I was, probably as a young child, as my goddaughter, and my mom, she says she's been here like more than 20 years ago. So we're coming here to get some information, to see how they live, how they go about things, developing, and just living, the life that they live, and learn more about their culture. So I just, again, hope that you enjoy this video. In fact, I'm not going to hope. I know you will. Alrighty, stay tuned.
See you soon.
What'd you say? Stay tuned. See you soon. Yeah. She want to feed the animals. She don't realize that's part of our tour. So she's anxious. She's in a hurry to see. Sammy and Dusty, that's their name. And you feed them.
The alpaca's on that side, but the cow's name is Freddie.
Oh, Freddie.
So you speed.
Freddie, nice name.
Freddie, a nice name?
Yeah.
You see Freddie the cow?
That's the male too.
It's a male?
Yeah.
Okay, you see that? Our animals are friendly, but animals can bite. Feed at your own risk. You see that?
That's Marcy's bed.
Yes. Feed at your own risk.
I guess 12 is not bad. So if you had
You
4,
can't just do this, so you gotta hold it up over.
Right.
the goats.
I don't know.
These goats over there, you see
Sweet
the goats?
pea, Nigerian dwarf goats. We're about to go see. Oh, look! Chicken coop.
Oh, I want to see.
You're looking at it. That's a chicken coop. You see the windmill? Look up, mommy. Look up to the windmill. See the windmill?
Mari!
Hello. Hello, beautiful. Hello. Hi. Hello, beautiful. Hello. Oh, they're beautiful. Look at the animals and chickens.
That's the ear of corn right there. See it in there?
Hello. The baby chickens. Easter eggers. Noah Brown. Blue Plymouth Rock. And russet crammers.
Right there.
Who? I know. They got them all locked up.
Well, this one
Hello.
here,
Look at them big. Yeah, Freddie cool. But yeah, he must be on punishment. Freddie trying to get out. Freddie like, let me out. Or Freddie hungry. Freddie, you hungry?
He's hungry. That's Freddie can't eat.
Oh, look, now he's coming out. He's coming out. He was coming out. Look, Mom. Let Mom know that, hello. Hello. How are you? The chickens and goats. It's their feeding time. Everybody's getting their breakfast in. What's in there? What's in there? Oh,
Lucy like you.
they like you.
Yeah, Lucy just like you.
Oh, wow.
He
Hello.
wants to know what's going on.
Like, I want some food.
I think he just fed me.
Oh, maybe he's scratching himself.
Yeah, Lucy.
Look at the animals, Mommy.
Chickens and ate all the corn, so they'll eat it. They were always
Oh, look, the peacocks.
Yeah, she saw. They were. They were up on the platform here.
Oh, okay. Trying to see if I can see them. There we go. Yeah.
You gotta see the horses.
It's hard to see them. The peacocks. All right, let's head on back so we can get more tours. Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
Yeah. Cover your mouth, Mommy.
Like I say, the chickens ain't all the corn. They gone now.
Mm-hmm. See, we got ours.
There's Gabby fed too.
Look at his tail.
Huh?
Oh,
thank you,
Bless his tail this year.
Oh my goodness!
Thank
you. Look, Mommy, thank
He won't
you.
start growing until Christmas again.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Just have a nice day now.
All
You
right,
too.
thank you.
Thank you. Was that nice of them?
Yeah, you want to hold it?
Yeah.
So you can take the picture?
Yeah.
There
There
we
you
go.
go. It's a peacock tail.
Peacock. It's in front of your face, Mommy. You gotta turn around.
Put it right there.
There you go. Got it.
What is a peacock?
The peacocks that we saw in
Yeah,
there.
remember the peacock that was on the platform? That's the tail.
Yeah. So they shed. They're shedding.
Yeah, she doesn't like it. Yeah.
Nice and peaceful out here.
Mommy won't go in there, and me and Mom in there.
We've been in there. That's how. What? We've been in there. Huh? What? Yeah, I seen it. I seen it. The map. Mm-hmm.
So right now we are way over. Where are we at?
I don't know where we're at. You gotta learn how to read the map.
I gotta keep learning.
Okay. All right, so we gotta go so we can get on our tour. 'Cause it's getting close to the time.
Ours is not coming, so.
He's coming. He's observing. They even got soda machines. Uh-oh. No. It's called water. No, soda.
Shut up. I drink soda. I drink soda.
No. Look at the pretty ducks. Look at the pretty ducks relaxing, Mommy.
Yeah, but what is that? Look here.
Hmm?
I found this. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the back of the house. Babe,
I'm gonna get her.
we gotta get the other tour. We gotta get a tour.
People, they actually originate in Europe, northern Switzerland. This group of people is now extinct there, but they did start there. Back in the 1700s, there was a culture, they called themselves the Mennonite. A man named Jacob Ammon decided that he wanted to break away from this group of people. When he did so, he created his own culture, who he called the Amish. Now back in the 1700s, government and religion, they were one and the same. And in Europe, the Catholic Church actually dictated. This was a problem because the Amish people were Christians and they were also Anabaptists, which means that they do not believe in child baptism. So the Europeans saw that this group of people were breaking away. They also saw it as breaking the law. So the Amish people were being persecuted in Europe. Many were going into hiding, some were jailed, and some were even unfortunately killed for what they believed in. So that's going on there. Back in America, a man whose name is William Penn, he is the founder of Pennsylvania. He wanted this land to be for religious freedoms. So when he heard about these Europeans being persecuted, he actually invited them over. The Amish came in through Philadelphia and then walked their way up to Lancaster. That is why today Lancaster has the densest population of Amish. Currently living here, we have 40,000, and they double every 20 years. They can be found in 31 other states throughout the U.S. and in some provinces of Canada. Now, currently, we're in a room which they call the sitting room. Throughout the week, this can be a room where mom and dad will lounge in or the children can play in, but it does serve a greater purpose. This is used for church. They do not have church buildings. Instead, about 15 to 20 families will gather into a room just like this one. Each family then will take turns hosting church every other Sunday. So church would start here at about 9 a.m. It will go to 12 p.m. That is exactly 3 hours straight of prayer, worship service. They would also read the Bible. So over there we have a Christian Bible. This one is in High German. High German is only spoken while the Amish people are inside of church. When they're outside of church, but within their own groups of people, they speak a language which is called Pennsylvania Dutch. That is a German dialect, so a slang version of German. And then when there are people outside their culture, they do learn English in schools. Now we would all be considered English people, no matter what our race or ethnicity is. We're just not Amish, so they call us the English. Now we will be walking through the home. As you walk through, you are allowed to take as many pictures as you like. We just ask for no video. As you walk through, you are going to notice many things. One thing I would like you to notice right now is there are no pictures of any Amish people. That is because one of the 10 commandments in the Bible is thou shalt have no graven images or likenesses. So today they avoid this as much as possible. Instead, mom has something like this. This is a family roster. This just gives you the basic information on the family, like mom and dad's anniversary date and all the children's birthdays. This family had 8 children. That is the average for an Amish household. An Amish mother would usually have about 6 to 10 or even more if she would like. But at this point, you guys are free to get up, take a quick look around. Whenever you're ready, you're going to meet me in the kitchen area.
Quick question for you. You said they were originally from Switzerland. Did they not bring their language knowledge here?
Switzerland actually does not have their own language that they speak. Since they're in northern Switzerland, that's right below Germany, so most of them speak German. So they brought German over here. They speak the high version, and then they made their own dialect, which was the Pennsylvania Dutch. And it is a German dialect, but it also is a Yiddish dialect. So it's German and Yiddish.
What is High German? That with book German?
High German? High German is a formal version of German. I don't know the specifics on it, but it's what that Bible, that's the High German Bible. So if you can read that, then you basically know High German. All I know is a formal version of it. It's a very like in, I don't know, Spanish, you know, we have Spain German, which is the formal version of German because that's where Spanish originates from.
Okay.
And then other languages have their own version of German.
I wonder, I heard that if you want to become Amish, you cannot really become one.
You can become Amish. It's not something that you have to be born into. You can become Amish. It's just, it's a very difficult mannerism. Like, they want to make sure that you want to be committed to the Amish culture. So they're going to put you up to a lot of tests. And just a lot of people don't really like it or want to do it because they don't see the appeal on leaving everything that they know. No cell phones, no electricity, things like that.
Was it their cases happen?
Yeah, I know someone who's joined the Amish Church. It's not rare, but it's just not. I mean, it is rare, but it can happen. It's just not a lot of people do it in register.
But also I heard if the Amish leaves the community, then the person is really ostracized, and it's not allowed to join back the community.
That's called excommunication, so that's a big difference within Mennonite and Amish communities. If you're Mennonite and you do something bad, or get kicked out, or you can't get kicked out. But if you do something bad,
You
you're still
can't get kicked out?
not in the Mennonite. If you do something bad, you're still considered a Mennonite woman. You can leave the Mennonite culture, but you can always come back to it. You're always going to be considered a Mennonite woman. Whereas in the Amish community, Mennonite is it's like Amish, but like not really. Yeah, it's the women that have like the pattern dresses and they wear the caps. You're going to see the Amish clothing, and then once you look around, you're going to notice the difference between Mennonite and Amish. But
do they use electricity and like modern?
Depends. There's different types of Mennonite here.
But they're allowed to come back to the community.
Yes, whereas excommunication is the act of shunning and things like that. So to become Amish, you need to be baptized in the Amish culture. So that's why actually when you turn 16, you go through a phrase called rumspringa, which is the running around period. That's what it roughly translates. It basically, when you turn 16, your mom and dad want you to realize what's in the outside world and what's in the Amish world, because they want you to make the decision for yourself. So they might allow you to get a cell phone, they might let you get a car, a driver's license, things like that you're not really supposed to do. They might let you dress up like normal clothing. So that's the way that you can figure out whether this is the modern world, this is the Amish world. You decide for yourself. If you decide at this point you want to leave, that's okay. No one's gonna shun you, no one's gonna think of you any differently, because since you were never baptized, you were never Amish.
But can you then come back again?
Yes, because you need to be baptized in the Amish culture. So if you become baptized, then that's okay. Then you are Amish. But if you get baptized and then you decide to leave, they believe that you knew your responsibilities, you know what you signed up for, and you still left, or you got kicked out. Then that's in a formal shunning, it's called shunning, so you can't talk to the person, you can't look at the person, but they also believe in forgiveness. So if they shun for a while and they believe that the person is truly sorry for their actions, they will forgive the person, but that person can never go back to the Amish, to become Amish. So they can go back and say hi to friends and families, they just can't be Amish ever again.
Countryside on individual family farms. If you look to the right, you'll see one family's farm. Actually, you can only see their barn from here because the corn is so high. But that is an Amish-style barn called the Pennsylvania Bank Barn. It's built right into a hillside. It's built on a hill so that it has 2 stories. And upstairs in the barn where the farm machinery is kept, and downstairs where the animals have their stalls. The family also has a home, they have a carpenter shop, and they have a calf barn, all located on their farm. And they've got about 60 to 80 acres of farm where the Amish people live. Each family lives on, like I mentioned, about 60 to 80 acres of farmland. And the Amish arrived in Pennsylvania in the late 1600s and early 1700s. This is one of the first Amish communities in America, and many of these homes are original homes that were built back then in the 1700s when this land was purchased. And we just passed, we're passing an Amish produce farm here on the right. It is the end of the growing season, so many of the vegetables and fruits are already finished growing for this season. But on the right, that Amish family, they are produce farmers. They grow fruits and vegetables to take to the wholesale auction. And that's how produce farmers make their income. On the left, you'll see another Amish farm. This family is a family who milks cows. They have about 45 cows inside their barn. They milk them twice a day. They are dairy farmers. They receive their income from the dairy industry. You'll see the black and white Holstein cows used in the dairies. And here on the left, you'll also see some beautiful draft horses. These are Belgians. These are the horses that the Amish men use to do their farming. They hitch up gasoline-powered farm implements. They hitch them up to teams of horses, and that's how they do their farming, with horses and old-fashioned gasoline-powered farm machinery. If you look up this gravel lane going towards the gray house, you'll see a small tan-colored booth with a window in it. That is where that Amish family has their telephone. Every Amish family has a telephone, but they're not allowed to keep the telephone inside the home. The telephone has to be outside, and it will usually be in a small shed or booth, and the Amish call that a telephone shanty. Am I right? Am I right? Horse? What? Never mind. Just gonna... Okay, never mind. So that is a colt of a buggy horse, and then there's a pony there. Now, every Amish family does have a telephone, like I mentioned, but it's outside in the telephone shanty. The Amish don't want telephones inside their home because they don't want the telephone disturbing their family life or their work. If you look at this Amish home here on the right, you'll see some beautiful flower beds, really nicely landscaped yard. The Amish man that lives there is a harness maker. He makes leather harnesses for horses. Many Amish families have businesses on their farms. On the left, you'll see this Amish family has a store. It is a fabric store where they sell materials to make clothing. And this is where many of the Amish women come to buy their fabrics to make clothing for themselves and their families.
That's all the families up there.
This Amish family also has a dairy farm. They have about 45 cows that they milk. The family lives in a big white house, and that's attached to a gray house. Those are two separate houses. The big white house is for the family, mother, father, and children, and the gray house is for the grandparents. And their telephone shanty is right out here by this tree. If you see the little gray building with the window. Coming up on the right-hand side of the road is another Amish business. This is an Amish blacksmith shop right here by the road. Every Amish family has one or more horses. They must take their horse to the blacksmith about every 9 weeks to have the horse's hooves trimmed. The blacksmith also makes horseshoes, and he makes tools and farm implements made out of iron. Every Amish farm has a large vegetable garden near their house, and here on the right, you'll see beautiful flower beds surrounding the vegetable garden on this Amish farm. And this Amish family has some free-range chickens. And on the left, you'll see another dairy farm. This family also has around 45 cows that they milk twice a day. They receive their money from the dairy industry. There are 3 Amish homes on that farm. The Amish men living on that property work together repairing farm equipment. And you'll see a big green and white building. That's where the farm repair shop is located. right is another Amish home, and right next door are their Amish neighbors. Now you can tell that Amish homes do not have any electric wires connected to the homes. The Amish people do not use electricity, and there is a reason for that, and I'll explain shortly. If you look to the left, you'll see this other Amish farm that we saw from the other angle, the other road. And this is where they have, on the left here, they have a double house, one house for the grandparents, one house for the family. And this is where, on the left, they have the repair shop for farm machinery. On the right, you'll see an Amish one-room schoolhouse. Now, when the Amish people began their church back about 500 years ago, in Switzerland, they were called the Anabaptists. That means rebaptizers, and they were called this by the general public because they had a practice of baptizing adults. So the Anabaptists had broken away from the main Christian church, and they wanted to form a church that would rely simply on the teaching of the Bible and the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament of the Bible. And that's what they founded their church on. They refused to let the government have any participation or control of their church. They also refused to join the military to fight. They said that in the Bible, Jesus says to love your enemies, do good to people who hate you, and pray for people who persecute you. So the Anabaptist people, which is what the Amish were called back then, they refused to join the military, and because of all of these practices, they were considered to be criminals and heretics. So over 3,000 of them were executed by being beheaded or burned at the stake, and that's the reason they came here to America. If you look to the left, you'll see this Amish family is having Amish church. Look to the left. They're having the church service inside their home. The big gray wagon is the church wagon, and that's the wagon that contains the benches that the Amish people sit on for the church service. Some Amish families arrive at the church service in their horse and buggies, and other Amish ride their scooters to church. Each Amish family belongs to an Amish church congregation of about 20 to 30 Amish families. The church congregation is called a church district, and Lancaster County has over 200 Amish church districts. So the church district has 20 to 30 Amish families, and those Amish families take turns holding the church services in their homes. And I'll tell you a little bit more about church in a minute. If you look to the left at this beautiful Amish home, you'll see there's no electricity. You'll see the beautifully landscaped yards and flower beds. All of that professional-looking landscaping is done by the mother of the family. The children also help to mow the grass and weed the gardens. And right next door is an Amish family. They are produce farmers. They grew all of these beautiful pumpkins out in their fields. Now they're closed on Sunday. And if you look here on their property, okay, they've got a big white barn with a black rooftop. That is a tobacco barn. This family, besides growing produce, they also grow tobacco. And I'll tell you more about the Amish church service in just a few minutes. We'll hopefully see another Amish church. Now, many Amish people grow tobacco. There are many tobacco farmers here in Lancaster County. Tobacco has been grown for over 250 years in Lancaster County. Tobacco farming is passed down from generation to generation. As an Amish boy is growing up, he's learning how to farm from his father. He's learning how to drive the teams of horses, how to operate farm machinery, and how to do the farming. When he is in his early 20s and gets married, he will also need an income in order to support his family and pay his taxes. So that boy, if his father was a tobacco farmer, that boy will now become a tobacco farmer in order to support his family. Tobacco is a cash crop. It brings an income in to support the family. And Every Amish family has to pay taxes, just like every other American. The Amish, in fact, pay very high land taxes, property tax, farm taxes, sales tax, school taxes, and state and federal income taxes. The only tax the Amish people do not pay is the Social Security tax. The reason for that is because the Amish people do not accept a Social Security income. And that is why the Amish are exempt from paying the Social Security tax. If you look to the left, you'll see an Amish family lives in this yellow house. They've got the church wagon here at their home, that big gray wagon, and that's because they had church last Sunday. This Amish family also has a business. They make screens for doors and windows, and you'll see their business right there on their property. They've got solar panels on the rooftop of their business. The Amish do not use electricity, but they do use other forms of power, like solar power, propane gas, air compressors, generators, pneumatics, and hydraulics. And you'll see your typical Amish homes on both sides of the road here. Now, the Amish people believe in a teaching from the Bible called separation. This is what the Amish call that teaching. Separation, or separation from the world. They believe that the Bible teaches that the kingdom of the world, or the system of worldly life, is filled with corruption, greed, and evil. And they believe that the Bible teaches that the kingdom of the world is controlled by Satan the devil. And that's the main reason that the Amish try to separate themselves from the outside world. You look to the left, you'll see an Amish family. They have a pony cart out front, and they've got their family's buggy inside that red barn, which is called the buggy shed. The next door neighbors are also Amish. They have a trampoline and some playground equipment for their children, and they live in this beautiful modern-looking Amish home. So now the Amish try to stay separated from the outside world. That's their main practice. This main practice of the Amish, called separation from the world, is the main reason that they live a very distinctive lifestyle. They do not participate in the worldly forms of entertainment. They try to conduct their business in a non-worldly way. They send their children to private Amish schools. They don't want them being educated in public worldly schools. The Amish also do not own cars or other motorized vehicles, but they travel by horse and buggy. Look out your windows at all times. This is where the Amish people live. If you look to the left, you'll see an Amish one-room schoolhouse. There's an Amish school about every 2 miles out in the country. And this is where you're going to see where the Amish people live, right here in the bus. There is no Amish village. The Amish people do not live all together in villages. They live out here in the country on these individual farms. These are all Amish homes. Amish homes look very modern. Inside the home, there's no electricity, no carpeting, and no heat on the top floor of the home where the bedrooms are. Inside the home, the main light is a gas lamp, which is operated by lighting it with a lighter, and it's run by propane gas, a little tank of propane gas. And on the left, this Amish family has a print shop. They print books and prayer pamphlets that the Amish people use. They also have a quilt shop right here at their home. Now, every Amish home has indoor running water that is run on pneumatic power and pneumatic pumps. Every Amish home also has indoor plumbing. So they have a very modern bathroom with a flushing toilet, a shower, and a bathtub. Most Amish homes have more than one bathroom, 2 or 3 bathrooms, very modern. So here's a very modern Amish home. They have a tree house up in that tree for their children. They have a tire swing, and they also have a basketball hoop. On the left, you'll see this Amish family has a deer pen, and they raise deer for meat. Here on the left. Now, if you're not Amish, the Amish will call you the English people. So anything not Amish or Mennonite is called English. You have the English houses, English cars, English people. So everyone here on the bus, it doesn't matter what country you're from, the Amish will call you the English people. You can see English people living all around here. The English people own cars, they use electricity. We're not on the farm anymore, we're out in town. But here is one Amish home here on the right. There are Amish families that live on the edge of town. They live amongst the English people. If an Amish family does not live on a farm, it's usually because the father of the family goes away to work every day, and he works for another Amish man's business. Now, many Amish are farmers. We've got dairy farmers, tobacco farmers, and produce farmers. And many Amish men have their own businesses. We have many different Amish businesses right there on the property of the home. And also many Amish men are tradesmen, like carpenters, furniture makers, construction workers, stonemasons, house carpenters, harness makers, and blacksmiths. Those are just some of the trades of the Amish men. Now the Amish man will teach his trade to his son as the son is growing up, and I'll tell you more about that. If you look to the right, you'll see a volunteer fire company. This is Gordonville Fire and Ambulance Company. And all of the fire companies in Lancaster County are volunteer fire companies. Many Amish men are volunteer firemen. Annually, the Amish community holds a mud sale right across the street on the left. In these fields, they set up large tents, and they hold a public auction and sale to raise money for the fire companies. It's called a mud sale because it's held in the field in February after all of the snow has melted. So it's very muddy. It's called a mud sale. If you look to the far left, you'll see a big white fence, and that is an Amish cemetery out there. It's on private Amish land. Every Amish church district has its own private Amish cemetery, and many of the Amish cemeteries have been here since the 1700s. And these are Amish homes. If you look to the right, look inside what looks like a garage. The Amish call that a buggy shed. You'll see the family's buggy. And that's our front. So we're back out in the farmland. On the left-hand side of the road, this Amish family is building a new house onto their existing house. That's called a grandfather house, or in the Amish dialect, it's called a dotty house. And that's how the Amish people live. They live in double houses. The reason they're building that grandfather house is because the last child in the family is getting married. So mother and father will now retire from running the farm, and they'll give up their home and their farm to the newly married child and their spouse. Mother and father build a brand new home called the grandfather's house, and that's where they'll live, right there next to the home where they raise their children. And they'll live in their grandfather house for the rest of their lives. They'll help on the farm, and they'll also teach the children their traditions, and the families will eat meals together and spend a lot of time together. Here on the left is another Amish schoolhouse. This is actually a 2-room Amish school. Upstairs is the regular classroom for grades 1 through 8. Downstairs is a special education classroom. So that's a 2-room Amish school. I'm going to let the traffic go by here. Here, this is where the Amish people live. They live on farms all around you. These are Amish farms. To the left, you'll see an Amish home. This is where the Zook family lives. Zook is a very common Amish last name. The Zook family has a bakery. They make homemade chicken pies and homemade beef pies at their bakery. And that's across the street on the left. To the left of the bus, across the street here, is the Lapp family. That's another common Amish last name. The Lapp family lives in a big white house in the back of the property. Out front here is their barn. If you look inside the barn, you might see their work horses. And the Lapp family also has a business. They sell farm equipment. If you look to the left, you'll see some of that farm equipment. These are farm machines that the Amish men use. There is a sprayer machine, there's a hay baler, there's a rake and a harrow and a plow. All of those farm machines are built to be hitched to teams of horses to do the farm work. On the right-hand side, you'll see a very beautiful, very modern-looking Amish home, and a very modern barn right behind it. Now, there was no hill to build this barn into, so the builders built a ramp to make the Pennsylvania Bank-style Amish barn. So the barn still has 2 stories built into a ramp instead of a hill. You'll see soybeans on the right. Soybeans are grown by many of the produce farmers. And also on the right, you'll see another Amish business. This Amish father and his 2 married sons are repairmen. They repair farm equipment that you see here on their property. And they do fabricating and welding here in the repair shop on the right. One married son lives in the house at the bottom of the hill. The other married son lives in this house at the top of the hill. It's right here on the right, on the right-hand side. And on the left, you'll see an Amish shoe store called Laycock Shoe Store. This is where many of the Amish people in this area shop to buy shoes. The Amish people, many of them go barefoot in the summertime, and that's just by choice. They just enjoy going barefoot. But in the colder weather, they do wear shoes. They wear black shoes. And you might have seen a political sign. I would say about the majority of the Amish men do vote. The Amish are conservative Christians, so they usually vote conservative Christian. Here on the left is another Amish home. Their telephone shanty is this tan-colored building right up by the road. You'll see in the home, you'll see a sewing machine in the window there on the left. Every Amish woman has a sewing machine. On the right, you'll see this Amish family also has a business. They make sprayer machines for the Amish men to spray their crops. And here on the right, you'll also see the double house. The house for the grandparents connected to the family's home. Now I mentioned sewing machines. Every Amish woman learns to sew at a very young age, about age 4. She starts learning to sew, and by the age of 12, most Amish girls begin making all of their own clothing. When an Amish woman gets married, she will be expected to make all of the clothing for her husband and also for her children when she has children. On the left, you'll see an Amish butcher shop. This is where many of the Amish in this area buy their fresh meat. And it's owned and operated by the Amish family that lives in the red brick home right next door. Now, some Amish families do raise their own beef cattle, but many Amish families buy fresh meat at a butcher shop or even at a public market. On the right, you'll see a beautiful stone church built in the year 1724. This is Laycock Presbyterian Church. It is not an Amish church. The Amish people actually do not build churches. The Amish people hold their church services in their homes. Now, if you look out your windows all around you, we're still in Amish farmland. These are all Amish farms. This is where the Amish people live. To the left, you'll see on this Amish farm, it's the Fisher family. Mrs. Fisher and her daughters make homemade Amish soap, and they sell that soap in many markets here in Lancaster County. On the left, this Amish family is a family of dairy farmers. They have cows, they milk the cows twice a day, and the milk goes into the local markets. On the left, you'll see an Amish furniture store operated and owned by the Amish family that lives in a brick house right there next to the furniture store. So You'll see Amish farms all around you here. The corn has been cut. It's corn harvest time right now. September and October is the season for corn harvesting or cutting the corn from the fields. That's a Mennonite couple that just rode by on a bicycle. Those are Mennonites on the left. The Amish people actually don't ride bicycles. Instead, they travel by scooters. A scooter is like a bicycle, but it has no seat. You have to stand up and push on the ground with your foot to ride the scooter. This is the village of Intercourse. It was established in the year 1754. It was originally named the village of Cross Keys. And we're traveling on a main road here, Old Philadelphia Pike. Old Philadelphia Pike was built back in the 1700s, commissioned by the government, which was then centered in Philadelphia. These main roads, like Old Philadelphia Pike, were built to accommodate Conestoga Wagons. Conestoga Wagons were 3,000-pound wooden wagons pulled by 8 large draft animals like horses or oxen. And they carried goods from small villages or from small towns like Lancaster to the large town of Philadelphia. On the left, the big building there on the left was a harness shop. On the right, you'll see Pitch and Kettle Village. This is not an Amish village. There's no such thing as an Amish village. This is a tourist shopping center. It's very nice. They have horse and buggy rides, but they are not open on Sundays. Many of their employees are Amish. And on the left, some of the shops that we just passed were shops that sell Amish goods like wagons and toys made by the Amish. Now I should mention that Conestoga Wagons, like I mentioned, they traveled these main roads from the mid-1700s to the mid-1800s. The Conestoga Wagons weighed 3,000 pounds before they were loaded up with the goods. Goods were loaded into large wooden barrels, and the Conestoga Wagon could be carrying any type of goods, from buttons or belts or belt clips to farm implements or fabrics or grains or even whiskey. And they would carry all of these goods in different barrels. And they would travel from Lancaster to Philadelphia. That's a 62-mile journey, but it could take a Conestoga wagon up to 5 days to travel that journey. And there were taverns all around the route. All along the route, every few miles, there was a tavern. Taverns back in the 17 and 1800s were places where travelers could stop and spend the night or even get a meal to eat. And so that's a little bit about the history of these roads and the Conestoga Wagons that traveled them. And we're back out into the Amish farmland. The main crops that you'll see are alfalfa and corn, and also soybeans. Soybeans here on the left, corn on the right. And many of these Amish families are tobacco growers. And I'll just point out some of these right here. First, if you look to the left, you'll see a tan-colored home out past the field. That's a very unique Amish home. Downstairs are the horse stables, and upstairs is a big apartment where the family lives. They live right up over the horse stables. That's to the left, beyond the field. On the right, you'll see your typical Amish home. Here on the right, this is a double house, and you'll see it's actually 2 separate colors for the 2 separate homes. The Amish family living there grows tobacco. If you look on the left, you'll see a tobacco shed with tobacco leaves hanging upside down from the ceiling rafters of the tobacco shed. And on the right, you'll see another tobacco shed, and you'll see more tobacco hanging upside down from the ceiling rafters in this tobacco shed. tobacco is cut from the fields with a large pair of cutters. Tobacco is a very labor-intense harvest job. The whole family plus extended family, father-in-laws, brother-in-laws, uncles, aunts, they all go out to the field to help each other. They will cut the tobacco leaves from the field with a large pair of cutters. The tobacco leaves will be put onto a long stick called a stave and then taken back to the barn to be hung upside down for about 9 weeks. The tobacco leaves dry and cure in that time, and then they are sold to the cigar companies from North Carolina. You'll see a stone house here on the right. This Amish family lives in one of the original homes. There are many of these original homes. On the left, you'll see a small stove out in that driveway there. That is a pressure cooker. That's what many Amish women use if they want to do their food preserving outdoors. And here on the right, you'll see a stone barn. And these stone buildings were built back in the 1700s. There are many original stone homes and stone barns. And there are also many original log houses. You'll see a field of alfalfa. Alfalfa is a food for the Amish family's livestock animals. Corn, which is what you see right here on the right, is also food for the livestock animals. On the left, you'll see the average Amish home. You'll see it's a double house. The white house is for the grandparents. The gray house is for the family. They are 2 homes attached together. You'll see beautifully landscaped yards and flower beds, and you'll see no electric lines. You'll also see the barn that's built right into a hill back behind the home. And September and October are the corn harvest season. You can see on the right that some of this cornfield has been cut. The harvest has been started. The Amish men and the whole family will go out to the field to cut the corn. It takes 2 teams of horses pulling a hay wagon and also pulling a corn binder. That's the machine that cuts the corn. And it takes many people out in the field for the corn harvest. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute. Up on top of the hill here, on the right, is an Amish dairy farm. And you'll see a big machine with an orange triangle on it. That is a corn binder. That's the machine that's pulled by horses that actually cuts the corn. On the left, you'll see some Amish children in a pony cart. And the Amish man that lives here, he and his sons are professional carpenters, and they make beautiful Amish furniture. And those were some Amish children there. The cousins are here visiting today on a Sunday. Now the Amish people only have church every other Sunday. There are over 200 Amish church districts in Lancaster County, so each family belongs to a church district of 20 to 30 families. Some church districts have church today, and other Amish church districts have their in-between Sunday, where they do not have church. So the Amish only hold church service every other Sunday. And that makes it so that each family usually has a term to hold a church at their home about once a year. Every Amish church district has a church wagon. It's the large gray wagon with steel wheels. It's also called the bench wagon. Inside the bench wagon are long wooden Amish-made benches. That's what the congregation sits on for the church service. Many Amish families have the church service in their home. They set up the benches, and the women sit in one section, the men sit in another section for the church service. The Amish church is 3 hours long, and it's conducted in the Gothic German language. That is not the language that the Amish people speak. Gothic German is a language, very old German language. It's the language the Amish conduct their church service in. The Bible used during Amish Church was published in the 1500s, and the songbooks that the Amish sing from in their church service were also published in the year 1562 and written in the Gothic German language. So the Amish children, here's another Amish school on the right, and those are some beautiful Belgian horses. Those are draft horses that the Amish men use for their farm work. Now the Amish children learn Gothic German language as a foreign language. They study it from 2nd grade through the 8th grade. They learn Gothic German so they can understand the church service. The Amish people actually speak a dialect at home. They speak a dialect that's called Pennsylvania Dutch dialect. This is the language they were speaking back in the 1700s when they arrived in Pennsylvania. They were also speaking that dialect even before the 1700s. Here on the right is an Amish telephone shanty. That's where this Amish family has their telephone. Then you'll see the double houses here. Looks like they have a visitor who has a car. You'll see the double house. The dog with a comb on its neck, poor doggy. This family has their double house here on the right. On the left, they have their milk barn, their dairy barn, where they milk their cows, and they also raise baby cows or calves. There's a little kitten. In the backyard, this family has a trampoline for their children. Out front here, they have a grape arbor where the Amish woman grows Concord grapes. And she's also got her vegetable garden here. Many Amish women grow Concord grapes to make Concord grape juice and also a favorite dessert called grape mush. Now in the summertime, the Amish families eat fresh vegetables and fruits from the garden along with their homemade meals. During the summer, the mother of the family preserves fruits and vegetables, and in the wintertime, the fruit and vegetables that are eaten with the meals are canned fruits and vegetables that the mother has preserved in glass jars. Each Amish garden has many fruits, berries, melons. The Amish women grow strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, melons, watermelon, cantaloupe. They also grow pretty much every sort of vegetable you can imagine: carrots, broccoli, peas, sweet corn, tomatoes, onions, potatoes, lettuce, cabbage, beets, string beans. Those are just some of the vegetables. And the vegetables are growing all summer long. Now we're coming towards the end of summer, so the gardens are being finished up. The Amish women have, each mother has preserved, or what's also called canned, hundreds of jars of preserved vegetables like peas, corn, tomatoes, sauces. Also, she's preserved sauces, soups, and meat. And she's also preserved pickles, jams, and jellies. And she's been preserving hundreds of jars of these foods during the summertime. Now the gardens are pretty much getting finished off for the winter. All right, coming up to the left, you'll see another Amish Church district. This is Amish Church. Again, if you look to the left, you'll see all the buggies. The families have been, just keep looking, it's the family, it's the home that's coming up. This is an alfalfa field to the left, a soybean field to the right, and you'll see an Amish home on the left, where they're having Amish church today. Some Amish families hold the church service in their home, and there are going to be about 150 people or more, and other Amish families hold the church service in their workshop. If you look at this red and white workshop here, I think that might be where they're holding church. Some Amish families hold the church service in a barn. It looks like they might be having the church service in the workshop. You'll see an Amish girl wearing a blue dress, and she's wearing a white cape and apron on top of her dress. That is what the single, unmarried girls wear to church. They wear a white cape and apron that stands for purity. Now the teenage girls wear a black prayer covering on their head when they go to church here in Lancaster County. Black stands for humility. The married ladies wear any colored dress, and they wear a black apron on top of their dress. Only the unmarried girls wear a white cape and apron. And you'll see many of the families arrived in horse and buggies. Some of the Amish people are living close by and rode their scooters. So they're having an Amish church service right now inside that home. Amish church begins at 8:30 in the morning. It ends at 11:30 or so, 11:30 or 12. It's a 3-hour service. Let's see what time it is here. Oh, it's almost 12. So after the church service, the Amish congregation has a meal. It's called a fellowship meal. The Amish family that's hosting church, the mother and her daughters have made hundreds of snitz pies, homemade bread, homemade cup cheese, homemade peanut butter schmear, and they'll also serve, that's what will be served at the fellowship meal. Snitz pie is the main course, and also some lunch meat and cheese are sliced and served. Also, each person will get to have a hot cup of coffee or some cold iced tea and water. And that's what's served at the fellowship meal. So after the 3-hour church service, the Amish men pick up the benches that the congregation has been sitting on, and they put together temporary tables. The tables are set with a table covering and fine china dishes, and the fellowship meal is served and eaten in shifts. Because there are about 150 people or so, or more or less, the first people to sit down and eat are the married men. They bow their heads and have a silent prayer before they eat their meal, and then while they're eating their meal, they socialize, and after the meal, they bow their heads again. These are all Amish homes, so look out your windows. This is where the Amish people live. You see the buggies, you see their homes are very modern looking, but these are Amish homes. So after the fellowship meal, then some of the Amish families stay around and visit for the rest of the day. All of the Amish teenagers leave after the lunch. The Amish teenagers leave to go to their youth group activities. Some of the Amish families stay around to go to visit with the family that held the church service, and other Amish families go home after the meal. So that's what happens at Amish Church. Sundays are the day for church and the day to spend with family and friends and relatives. Here's another Amish business here on the left. This company does hydraulics and pneumatic services. You'll see on their sign right up there. If you look out all around you, you'll see Amish farms everywhere that you look. This is where the Amish people live. Beautiful Amish farm country out here in Lancaster County. Here on the left, this Amish family raises miniature ponies.
Tanks here. Looks like they sell tanks.
Now the Amish children go to school 1st grade through the 8th grade, and that's all of the formal education that they receive. They do not attend high school or college. We're going to see another Amish school in just a couple minutes up ahead. The Amish children are taught the basics of education. They do follow the required curriculum required by the Department of Education. The Amish children are taught by an Amish teacher and a teacher's helper. The Amish teacher has also had an 8th grade education. The Amish teachers get together with other Amish teachers at teachers' meetings several times a year, and this is the way they have their training. The teachers train each other, teaching different teaching methods and different different disciplinary methods. And so this is how the Amish teachers learn from each other. There are Amish teachers meetings several times during the year. Now the Amish teacher is chosen by the parents and the bishop, and she is paid a salary. Each Amish parent pays tuition for their children to go to Amish school. It's a very low tuition, usually something like $100 or $200 a year for their children to go to the private Amish school, and that's $200 for that includes all of the children in the family. One set price per family. Doesn't matter how many children they have, each family pays the same amount of money for the private Amish school. Now the Amish children learn reading, writing, spelling, grammar, penmanship, history, geography. They learn a foreign language, which is the Gothic German language. They learn mathematics and every other subject that is required by law. The Amish children are going to be taught by, they have textbooks and workbooks. They also learn by memorization and drills. And the mathematics books used in some of the Amish schools are agricultural mathematics books from the 1930s and 40s. There's an Amish school here on the left, and you'll see an Amish dairy farm on the right-hand side. Now you can tell this is an Amish school. If you look at the rooftop, you'll see a steeple with a bell. Now the Amish schools do have outhouses. If you look out in the yard, you'll see one outhouse for the boys and one for the girls. On the left is another beautiful Amish home. You'll see the horse in the stable there. Coming up on the right-hand side is an Amish cemetery. Each Amish church district has its own private cemetery. The cemeteries are on private Amish land. This Amish cemetery has been here since the year 1759. You'll see that the gravestones are very plain. Some of the gravestones are written in the old German language, and some are written in English. The only thing written on the tombstone is the name of the deceased person, the date they were born, the date they died, and how old they were when they passed away. When the Amish person is deceased, the body is embalmed by an English or non-Amish funeral director. The body is dressed in all white clothing because in the Bible, the Amish follow a scripture that says that the saints in heaven are clothed in white garments. So the person is dressed in all white clothing before they're put into the coffin. There is a 3-day viewing held at the home, followed by a funeral in the home, and then a horse-drawn procession to the cemetery. The Amish people do not visit their cemeteries. You'll see no flowers. You'll also see they do not use symbols, such as the symbol of a cross. The Amish people do follow the teachings of Jesus, and they follow the Bible very closely. They do believe in Jesus, that he died on a cross and rose again from the dead. But they do not use any kind of symbols. That's why you don't see any crosses. The Amish people actually believe that the people who have died are now, their soul is in heaven with God. They believe the teachings of Jesus, that if someone dies, they will live, and anyone who lives and believes in Jesus will never die. So the Amish believe they will have eternal life, and they will live with God forever in heaven. The Amish believe that this life is only temporary, and that's why they're content to give up luxuries and excesses in this life in order to follow a very plain and simple life that they believe pleases God. There are some beef cows on the right and some mules. Those guys are playing around. They're just playing. Some Amish men use mules to do their farming, and other Amish men use draft horses. It just depends on the Amish man's preference.
I've never seen a mule like this.
So these are mules. And those are little beefy cows having fun. Some of the common Amish names that you'll hear in Lancaster County. The most popular last name or family name is Stolzfus. So you'll hear a lot of Amish people with that last name, Stolzfus. It does not mean that they're related. It does not mean that they are cousins, but it's just a very common Amish last name, Stolzfus. We have Byler, Esch, Fisher, Miller, Smucker, Smoker, and Zook. Those are some of the common Amish last names here in Lancaster County. There's a beautiful Amish home on the left. Very modern looking brick house. In the backyard they have a trampoline built right down into the ground for their children. And this is another Amish family, the Stolzfus, Eli and Annie Stolzfus. They have a beautiful gift shop that's closed on Sundays. But they do sell really nice Amish gifts and also homemade pie and other baked goods. And they have a petting zoo there, and that's open to the public. Some typical Amish women's names that you'll hear are Katie, Rachel, Naomi, Martha, Miriam, those are Sarah. Those are just some common Amish women's names that you'll hear. Some common Amish men's names are Amos, Eli, Ephraim, Daniel, Samuel, Stephen, and Jonathan. Those are just common Amish men's names. There are some beautiful buggy horses. The horses that pull the Amish family's carriage or buggy. Many Amish buggy horses are retired race horses. They retire from the racetrack and they're sold at the livestock auction. That's where the Amish buy their animals, at the livestock auction.
Yeah, that's not Amish.
Right across the street, you'll see an Amish home on the hill on the right.
Oh, it is. It is Amish. Right there.
Yeah, usually during the week, Monday through Saturday, out in front, they have a big roadside stand where they sell jams and jellies and homemade gifts. On the left, you'll see a 4-story building. It's a grain mill. This was built in the year 1760, and this was where the local people used to bring their grains like wheat, rye, buckwheat, and other grains to be made into flour. And out front of the mill, there used to be a big water wheel that operated the mill. And the red brick home, that's the home where one of the families that operated the mill in the 1800s lived there in that home, and this is their yellow barn. Today, the grain mill, the home, and the farm are a museum. And right next door is another Amish farm. You'll see that this Amish family on the left has mules. The grandfather that lives on this Amish farm is a chair maker. He does chair caning, which is like weaving. He makes rocking chairs and other chairs here in his shop on the left. And in the back of the shop in the barn, you'll see this Amish family has a tobacco shed, and you'll see tobacco leaves hanging from the ceiling rafters inside the open parts of that tobacco shed building. This family also has a windmill. Many Amish farms have windmills, but they no longer use them. A windmill provides power to pump water into a home, but today most Amish homes use pneumatic pumps to pump their indoor water, so the windmills are no longer needed or used. Up ahead is a Mennonite church. Mennonites are groups of people that are similar to the Amish. The Mennonites were part of the Anabaptists back in the 15 and 1600s in Europe. They have the same beliefs as the Amish. They base their lives and their beliefs on the Bible, the New Testament of the Bible. But the Mennonites build churches. The Amish do not build churches. So that's one Mennonite church that we just passed on the right. There are hundreds of Mennonite churches, different Mennonite churches all over Lancaster County. On the left is another Amish school. Now the Mennonites, there are three different groups of Mennonites. The Old Order Mennonites, those Mennonites travel in horse and buggy, just like the Amish people do. The Conservative Mennonites wear similar clothing as the Amish people, but the Conservative Mennonite people drive a car. They drive cars and trucks and vans, and they use electricity and other technology. So that's the main difference between the Amish and the Mennonites. You'll see more Amish homes all around you. If you look in the garage, you'll see a buggy or a carriage, and these are all Amish homes. Now the Amish people use public services such as doctors, dentists. The Amish people use public hospitals. The Amish go to chiropractors, orthodontists, and they even have surgeries if required. However, the Amish people do not have insurance, so they have no medical insurance. There's a beautiful Amish modern home if you look down the lane to the far left. And these are all Amish farms all around you. And you'll see the workhorses out here in the field on the right. So now the Amish people do not believe in having insurance. So they do not have any kind of life insurance or medical insurance or any other type of insurance. If they have a medical bill, even like a hospital visit or a surgery, they will have to pay that in cash. But many of the hospitals in this area give discounts to the Amish people because the Amish people will pay the bill in full, and the hospital will get the bill paid immediately, probably paid more money than the medical insurance would pay, and a lot quicker. On the right-hand side, we just passed an Amish farm with a big gray barn or workshop. Just a few months ago, that barn burnt down in a big barn fire. And to the left, you'll see an Amish grocery store all the way down the lane that we just passed. Look out your windows at all times. Now, the Amish believe that the Bible teaches that people should help each other. They believe that the Bible teaches that God is the creator of the earth, and He also created all people. And God is a loving Father. And the Bible teaches that all people should treat each other with kindness and love. And the Bible teaches to help one another in times of hardship. So the Amish believe that if one of the Amish families has a tragedy like a barn fire, the next day all of the Amish community shows up and they clean up that rubble from the barn fire. And a few days later, the lumber is purchased. All of the Amish men in that Amish church district show up at the farm with their tools, and they rebuild the barn in one day. That's called a barn raising. And the Amish men build that barn for free. And the Amish people believe this is the right thing to do. They believe that that's what should be done when a family has a tragedy like a barn fire. Now this is another Mennonite church on the left. All of these Mennonites also drive cars and use electricity, and here is a Mennonite school on the right. So you can see the difference between how much bigger a Mennonite school is than a smaller Amish school. The Amish schools usually have 20 to 30 students. And you see an Amish school up ahead on the left. And here on the left is that Amish school. So as you've seen several Amish schools now. Here on the left is another one. The Amish schools are always close enough so that the students can ride their scooters or walk to school. In the cold weather and the snow, many Amish parents will drive their students to school in the horse and buggy. You'll see an Amish farm on the right. They raise plants. Those are flowers called mums that they grow there. On the left, you'll see this Amish family has a roadside stand where they sell gifts. Of course, it's Sunday, so it's closed. On the left, you'll also see a tobacco field. Now, this tobacco field has some tobacco leaves in little teepee shapes, and these tobacco leaves are drying out in the field instead of in the barn. On the right, you'll see a tobacco barn with tobacco leaves hanging upside down from the ceiling rafters of the barn. And here on the right-hand side of the road, all of the homes on this road are Amish homes. So you'll see the typical Amish homes that we've seen before. Most Amish homes are a plain color like white or tan or gray. The yards are nicely landscaped. This family has a milk cow and her buddy, and that is a Guernsey cow. And many Amish families have Jersey cows. Jersey cows make really rich milk. It has about 83% butter fat. You'll see these Amish homes here on the right. On the left is a soybean field. The Amish farmer on the far left is a produce farmer, and they're growing soybeans. Coming up on the left-hand side of the road is an Amish factory. It's the big red building on the corner on the left. It is called a coach shop. This is an Amish factory where they make the buggies. It's Amish owned and operated. All of the employees are Amish men. And this is where the buggies are made. You'll see some buggies lined up in front of the factory. An Amish buggy is made of fiberglass for the body and titanium steel for the wheels. A brand new Amish buggy usually costs about $7,000. And an Amish boy is given his first horse and buggy when he turns 16 years old, and that's a traditional birthday gift from his parents. If you look to the right, you're going to see another Amish church district. This family is holding the church service today at their home for their church district, for their beautiful buggy horse. And you'll see the scooters. Right now, the people have what people might still be eating, their fellowship meal. And if you look inside the barn, you'll see the Amish people sitting there. This might be what is this? Okay, this might be the they're still sitting on benches in there. You'll see the men are wearing white shirts and black vests. That's what they wear when they attend church. So that they are having the church service out in their barn. Now,
we complain about 1 hour. Today it was 2 weeks.
yeah, today after church, they might be having the member meeting after they had church and then the fellowship meal. Twice a year, the Amish hold communion service, once in the springtime and once in the fall. A few weeks prior to communion service, the Amish hold a members meeting, and this is where all of the Amish church members in that church must be at peace with one another. There must be no disputes, no arguments, and if there is anything that needs to be resolved, then the Amish people work together with the bishop and the ministers to resolve that. Now, they may not have the communion service until all disputes are resolved. The Amish do not go to court to resolve disputes. The Bible teaches that if someone in the church is committing an offense, then the ministers in the church should help that person, and they should resolve it together. They should not go to the public courts to resolve differences and other problems. So yeah, so this is a treat today. You've seen several Amish churches, and that's what the Amish do on Sundays. Church service, and then just visiting with family and friends. So this is Amish farm country. This is where the Amish live. Here's another Amish business on the right. Amish and Mennonite men. The Mennonites drive trucks and cars. The Amish and the Mennonite men work in that business, making farm equipment. On the right is an Amish home. The grandfather here is a hat maker. You'll see his sign out by the road, Irish Town Hats. He makes Amish men's hats. The Amish men wear a straw hat on their head when they're outside. And usually when they go to church, they wear a black felt hat. And that's one of the many Amish hat makers here in Lancaster County. Now the Amish men grow a beard once they're married. They do not grow a mustache, however. Oh, here's a beautiful Amish brand new home on the right-hand side. That's an Amish farm. You'll see the house, the grandfather house, a shop, and the barn. And they've got solar panels on the rooftop.
I know.
Now the Amish men grow a beard once they're married. So you can tell which men are married and which are not.
Yeah.
If an Amish man is clean shaven, then he is not married. Now an Amish man will grow a beard, but he'll shave his upper lip. The Amish men do not wear mustaches. The Amish men also don't wear fancy belts, and they don't wear fancy buttons. The Amish men wear black pants held up by suspenders, and they wear hook and eyes instead of fancy buttons on their Sunday church suits. The reason for this is because back in the 15 and 1600s, when the Amish people were being persecuted and taken to executions, the soldiers that took them to be executed had fancy belts, fancy buttons, and big mustaches. And that is a tradition today that the Amish do not use those things. And those were two Amish boys, and they were sitting in a courting buggy. That's an open three-seater buggy. Here on the left, you'll see the Amish church service that we saw at the beginning of the tour. There on the left.
Where we started.
Now, the Amish people wear what they would consider plain clothing. They call it plain clothing. They go by a scripture in the Bible that says, "Do not clothe yourselves with expensive jewelry, fine clothing, or fancy hairstyles. Instead, clothe yourself with the beauty that comes from within, the unfading beauty of a quiet and gentle spirit." There's a little Amish boy on a tractor. And that's one of the scriptures the Amish people use. So they believe that even though they are all dressed alike in the same fashions, the Amish believe that each individual has their own special beauty that comes from within. The Amish people also believe that God sees the beauty of each person, the beauty of each person's heart. Now the Amish people wear what they would consider plain clothing. They only wear solid colors, although they do wear beautiful and bright colors. You'll see the Amish people wearing pink, purple, turquoise, red, yellow, orange. But their clothing is only one solid color. The Amish women wear a solid colored long dress. On top of their long dress, during the weekdays, they wear a black apron for additional modesty. The Amish women wear a prayer covering on their head, and each Amish lady makes her own prayer covering at home on her sewing machine. The Amish women's prayer covering is kind of a heart shape, and that's only worn by the Amish women here in Lancaster County. If you go to other states where the Amish people live, the Amish women wear a different style of prayer covering. It's more cone-shaped. But here in Lancaster County, the Amish women wear the heart-shaped prayer covering on their heads. The Amish observe a scripture in the Bible, in fact, a whole chapter in the Bible in the New Testament, book of Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, talks about how a woman should cover her head when she prays, and that a woman's covered head is a sign that she accepts that she is under the authority of God. And the chapter in the Bible also says that a woman's covered head shows the angels that that woman is under God's authority. It's a sign to the angels. So for many reasons, the Amish women wear their prayer covering, and they wear it at all times. The Amish women start wearing a prayer covering at age 13. On Sundays, at church service, every Amish female, even the baby girls, wear a prayer covering at church. But during the weekdays, only age 13 and older. Now the Amish men wear black pants held up by suspenders. They wear a solid colored shirt made by their wives. And this can be any color shirt, pink, purple, turquoise, whatever color their wife has made for them. And the Amish men cover their heads with a hat. So that's a little bit about the Amish clothing. The Amish teenagers join a youth group. This is an Amish tradition. They join a youth group when they turn 16 years old. This is an Amish youth group. The Amish youth groups meet every Sunday afternoon from about 1 p.m. till about 11 p.m. So this afternoon you'll see Amish youth. You'll see the Amish youth meeting this afternoon, going to their youth group activities. There are over 200 Amish youth groups in Lancaster County, and they meet at the Amish families' homes. The parents take turns holding the youth group activities in their homes. And that's what you'll see this afternoon. You'll see many Amish youth in their buggies on their way to the youth group activities. At the youth groups, they play sports like volleyball, they have snacks, they socialize, they sing, they play games. And if you've seen any kind of Hollywood movies about the Amish, disregard anything they've said about the Amish youth leaving home and living in the cities when they're teenagers. This is not true. The Amish teenagers live at home until they get married. And here in Lancaster County, the Amish youth are pretty much wholesome. You don't find any alcohol or drugs. If an Amish youth gets involved in alcohol or drugs, they have intense counseling by their families and their ministers, because alcohol is not allowed. Okay, that's a little bit about the Amish lifestyle. I hope
Go ahead. Now just hold your hand open. Keep your hand open. Oh, wait, but not like a tree farm. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, hold your hand. Hold it. Go ahead. Hold your hand out. No, don't close your hand. Keep it open. Yeah. Go ahead. You gotta go closer. Go ahead. Go ahead. You got it. The little kid did it, and he big. He's smaller than you. Go ahead. You got it. Go ahead. He's waiting for you. He's saying it's okay.
Why don't you just pour in it?
No, you don't pour it in his mouth, Mommy. He just holds your hand open. Just hold it open and he'll do it. He's saying you're playing around. Go ahead, feed that one. You want me to hold your hand? Here, hold your hand. Here, I'll do it with you. Keep your fingers open like that. Okay? Go ahead. He got it. He's not. Go ahead. Give me the food. See, I done wasted a quarter. Look at that. Look at that. That's it. That's it. She been asking for you. Now you're here. Maurice will do it. She been asking, saying, I want Maurice here. Oh, it's. Oh. Oh wait. Yeah. No. I got fire.
Yeah, that's what Mom and I moved because of
Here. See, Maurice doing it. I done did it. Now you want to try it? Now that Maurice did it?
You just got to hold your hand out flat so they can get it off of it.
You want to try it now? Alright. Well, here you go. I done said.
I'm good. Because now I got to go wipe my hands. Move my hands out the way.
I'll bring you some too. See, Mommy?
I think that's too scary.
That's it, Mommy.